Hello, hi. Been a little while. Yeah, quite a lot going on. So I had this whole video idea where I was going to talk about various websites that were really useful for 5th edition DMs and some of the ones that I use the most. And the first website I was going to talk about is CoWorld Fight Club. Right, okay, look. This is the third time I've come to record the intro to this video now. I was originally working on a video about useful websites to use as a 5th edition DM, and one of the first ones I was going to talk about was CoWorld Fight Club, which is an amazing resource. We'll get into that later. Then, as I was recording and editing that video, the website went down, and it appeared as though the website was going to be gone forever, possibly, and that other resources would be needed. So I changed the topic of the video, and I instead started talking about websites that you could use instead of KFC, of CoWorld Fight Club. And I was about halfway through working on that, and then someone else brought it back. So I'm just going to get this done as quickly as possible before it goes offline again, or something else happens. Also, I'd like to apologise for the severe delay between the last video and this one. As you can see, I am in a whole new apartment. I'm actually in an entirely new country. Yeah, it's been a busy time, sorry about that. So, at what feels like long last, it is my great pleasure and privilege to actually show you CoWorld Fight Club, or CoWorld Plus, as it is now called. The functionality of the website is very much the same as it was before. The only difference is that it's run by a new set of developers. Currently, I believe there is no option to add custom content, although that is apparently coming in the future. But what is CoWorld Fight Club? What does it actually do? So, what it is a website that will allow you to balance encounters, or create encounters, using the 5th edition challenge rating system. Now I know there are issues around challenge rating. It's not exactly the most ideal system. It doesn't always throw up the right results, but it is a useful way to tell whether your party are going to absolutely trounce an encounter or whether it's absolutely going to trounce them. So the most simple thing to do with it is just to plan out encounters. So let's say, for example, I've got 6 players, they're all level 4. I know they're going to be going into a forest at some point in the next session. I want to give them a couple of battles, so I might just click random medium here, and it'll suggest something that is potentially a worthwhile encounter for them to fight. Okay, it is going to pick at the moment from everything in the list, so it's going to be a little random. Click it another time, you'll get something completely different. Click it again, something again completely different. Obviously, if I want to do a harder encounter, I can. If I want to do an even harder or an even easier encounter, I absolutely can. Now, obviously with this just being purely random, the encounters it throws up don't make necessarily a whole lot of sense. Quite why a Yonti and a Stegosaurus would be on the same side in a fight isn't clear. But what KFC does give you is just, I mostly use it for inspiration. I don't necessarily use it to exactly say, oh no, they're going to have this encounter, then this encounter, then this encounter. But what I actually use it for is to say, what kind of monsters might they fight in this area? What might they find? And then if I click through it a few more times and it throws up, let's have a bugbear chief and a lizard folk. Well, they're not necessarily going to be on the same side in a fight. But then you think, oh, well, you might have a situation in which bugbears and lizards are fighting each other and the players can decide whether they want to get involved or not. And that then becomes a more interesting scenario. Primarily though, as far as the actual utility of KFC, it is one of those tools that I log into every single time I'm planning a D&D session, just so I can put in what I'm trying or thinking about having the players fight and see, based on the numbers, what the outcome's likely to be. If you're looking for something a little more simplified or a little more manual in its approach, then this is the not particularly beautifully named, but descriptively named Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition encounter calculator. And all this is going to do is do much the same thing as KFC does, but without the charts and without the helping you actually choose the monsters. What this tool will do is just tell you whether or not the encounter that you have planned is easy, medium, hard, or deadly. That's about as far as it goes. So again, similar sort of situation. Let's say I've got 4 characters, they're going to be level 5. You can choose whether you're going to use XP or challenge rating. I'll use challenge rating for ease. How would they fare against 4 challenge rating 5 monsters? That is going to be extremely deadly for them, obviously. Let's make that challenge rating 2. That'll be hard. Again, that's about all it does really. There is a initiative tracker here as well, and this is just a very simple type your initiative in and go. Again, not something I use, but could be useful for you. Of course, if you feel like getting a bit more hands-on and you don't want to rely so much on the digital tools, then you could always just do it yourself. This next tool is a lot more in depth and actually is something that I think would take a while to set up and learn to use correctly. But if you are not a fan of challenge rating so much, but you would rather think of things in more gameplay terms, then I think this might be the site for you. So this is a website called D&D Combat. And this is something that I discovered quite recently, and I'm still sort of playing with and getting into, but what it actually does is very impressive. I'll give you a quick demonstration. So what it allows you to do is create a party and a group of monsters and then actually simulate battles between them to see who would win on average. So let's just set something up super quick. So I've just set up a super quick thing here, randomized party of 4 level 5 characters, which we've just done here, and then added a group of orcs onto the monster side. And it gives an indication of what it thinks is going to happen. It says it's a tricky fight, but with money on the players. So this should actually be relatively well balanced. What this website actually does is it will simulate 25 fights. So if I click this button, it'll begin simulating. And these are happening in the background. In this case, actually, the party has won 100% of the time. So that's not a particularly balanced fight. I'm going to add another 2 regular orcs. Now it's saying tricky fight, money on the monsters. Let's try another simulation, see what that looks like. Okay, party still wins 100% of the time. You know what? I'm going to add another I want it to be a little bit more balanced. Okay, party wins 80% of the time. It doesn't just do this though. If I click on watch a fight, and this is what makes this website so cool, it actually properly simulates on a grid map what is happening at every turn. It has an initiative roll, it will do the damage rolls, and if I click through the rolls, it will show you the moves of each creature, one at a time, and show you how the party or the monsters actually win. Now obviously this isn't going to take into account any particular tactics that you as a DM would use or that your party might use, but just as an eyeball, as a kind of, if they were in a flat plane with nothing else going on, what would happen? There is no better way, I think, to figure that out than actually to simulate it. Now at the moment the D&D Combat Compendium is not complete, I believe. There's a lot of spells and abilities that are missing. The one thing that it does allow you to do, which I haven't played with yet, but I think would be an absolute boon to any game, is it actually allows you to create your players' character sheets directly on the website, so you can use their actual abilities and stats during a simulation. I think the possibilities for that are enormous in terms of really finely tuning encounters. Again, not going to take into account the ridiculous tactics that your players are actually going to pull off because players are insane. So just a few more combat-oriented DM tools that I found useful over the years. I will leave a link to everything that I've mentioned in the description below. If you have any other links that you'd like to share with me or anyone else that comes along and watches this video, please leave those in the comments, along with just your thoughts. I love to hear from you guys. If you've enjoyed this in any way or it's been useful to you, I'd love you to let me know by hitting the like button, and if you want to see more content coming from me, please do subscribe. I'd love you to join me. Either way, I'll see you on the next video. See you later. Lastly, I'd like to apologise for the significant difference in camera and audio quality. Obviously, having just moved, I don't really have any of my usual equipment at the moment. I'm hoping to get back to that sooner rather than later. But this is what I've got for the time being, I'm afraid. You alright with that? You don't care as long as you get fed, do you?